In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern that you can then use for your clay to cut a piece of clay that's going to be easier to work with when you're trying to wrap it around a form. This works best then if it's anything tapered. If you've got something with vertical sides like this, then you can wrap a piece of clay around it that's the same height all the way around, and it works well. But when you get into things that are tapered, it's much easier if you make a pattern for yourself ahead of time. So I have this little planter, little plant box. I'm going to wrap my paper around here. I am going to put a few pieces of tape in the top here just to help keep it in place as I go. I don't want to tape it, I don't want to tape it to the side here. It's okay to tape it to the rim in a couple places because you can still access those and easily remove the pattern. If you're taping it to the side, that gets harder to remove later. So I'm going to tape this in just a few places and have the paper overlap a little bit here. Doesn't need to overlap a lot. I could trim that a bit. Okay, so if you see underneath, I have all this loose space that is going to be difficult if I was trying to wrap a piece of clay around here. I'd be getting all these wrinkles. So what I'm going to do is on the corners create some seams and pleats. And again, this doesn't need to be really exact. It's really just creating a guideline. And, well, I have way more paper here than I need. I didn't realize. And I'm going to tape down those folds as I make them. So if you get, if you have all this paper like I do, you may want to trim some of it off. I could make this a little more exact later. It'll just be easier to work with if I don't have all this paper. There we go. So it's still sticking out a little bit. Okay, so I've created this one piece here, and I'll create a second pleat over here, just creasing the paper and then taping it down, and then doing that all the way around. Do the last one. And then I am going to go through here and trim to the bottom of my form. Again, doesn't need to be exact. Pottery is not an exact science. And this is just to make a pattern that will help you cut your clay a little better. Trim that up a little more. Okay, so this is going to be my pattern. So now I want to remove it from my form. All those pieces of tape I put on there can come off. This is kind of like how you'll remove your form once your clay is on. Peel that off. Now I should be able to take this out. Those extra pieces of clay, or tape, you can cut them off or fold them under. Okay, so I have this piece of clay here. So you want to pick apart, probably not where you did one of the folds, because that's going to be the corners, but someplace in between two of the folds. If you want to cut that open, now this is your pattern. So that is the shape that you want to cut your clay. Now I have another one over here that I already did that's a little more complicated, but again, I've gone around and done the same thing, created lots of folds, and now if I take this one off, and cut it open, so that it lays pretty flat. This one still has some darts that might make it a little complicated. But this is the shape that you're going to need to cut out. And maybe I will make little snips at the corners here. Because obviously when we make a slab of clay, it lies flat. So for something more drastic like this, this is the shape I'm going to cut in order to wrap my clay around here. And this curve here, I may just end up, smooshing the clay a little, but makes it much easier than trying to wrap a big flat long strip of clay around something like this. Okay, I'm going to go roll some slabs.